Now that we have Lisa in individual therapy, and again, she's committed, she's ready to do DBT, and she signed up for group, and she's in individual. She understands phone coaching, when to use it. And we are, as a therapist, we have an understanding of her life worth living, what she is looking forward to, so we can help use that during times of low motivation. And she understands how to fill out the diary card, and she's bringing that in fairly regularly. So we are engaged in one behavioral chain analysis after another. We call that BCA, behavioral chain analysis. So what is a behavioral chain analysis? It is not unique to DBT. Behavioral chain analysis is also used in CBT. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out what is contributing to, leading to, what are the chain of events that lead to the problem behavior. In that sense, we're looking for what's called vulnerability factors, precipitating events, and controlling variables. So vulnerability factors are pretty easy to identify. Everybody's got vulnerability factors. You think about a problem behavior that you have, there are certain situations, there are certain things that, if they are the case, you're more likely to engage in that problem behavior. Let's say your problem behavior is eating sweets, and you're more likely, clearly, to eat sweets when you're hungry. So, being hungry is a vulnerability factor. For Lisa, being hungry is also a vulnerability factor for anger outbursts. I don't think it's just Lisa. Do you? I think that it's many of us have that as a vulnerability factor for any of our problem behaviors. So there are certain things that are consistent across people, that if we're hungry, if we're tired, if we're physically ill, we're going to be more at risk for engaging in our problem behavior. But then there are things that are also idiosyncratic. They're specifically unique to that individual. What is a vulnerability factor for Lisa? So it may be that a unique vulnerability factor for her is, her partner has the day off. Well, why is that a vulnerability factor for Lisa? Because she gets resentful because she works so much and her partner doesn't contribute as much financially to the household. And there's a whole backstory behind it. But the point is, for Lisa, that is a vulnerability factor. Now, every time that her partner has the day off doesn't mean she's absolutely going to have an anger outburst. It just makes it more likely. So I think about vulnerability factors as being like the gasoline that is poured. It doesn't start the fire, but it sure does make it more likely. And then the precipitating event is the thing that sets it off. It's the event that strikes the match and then everything is ablaze. It's the no going back point. So you can only discover that if you go through repeated behavioral chain analyses with your client, and then you're saying, oh, this is the jumping off point. This is the no return. And I've found oftentimes there's a cognition, there's a thought that happens like, screw it. Or if I don't do this, then they're going to think, ... So there are usually, you'll see repeating patterns, and that's wonderful. That's what we're looking for. Because once something is visible, oftentimes just monitoring it can reduce it in and of itself. It can reduce just by monitoring it. Now, we can also intervene, and we can intervene along the chain of events. So those controlling variables maintain the series of events that lead to the behavior. They keep it going. They're adding fuel to the fire. So if we're literally looking at a chain of events, then the controlling variables are the links, one to the other. It maintains it. So we're examining all of those things and then applying our skills. It's sort of like, okay, it is what it is. You did have a blow up and you feel XYZ about it. let's go back and look at, you can't do anything different, but let's just say that you get the opportunity in the future, because I suspect you will, this will come around again. And if you get the opportunity in the future, where would you do something different, or where could we do something different? And there are multiple places along those chain of events where you could do something different. And we're going to use DBT skills and plug those in, because the way that DBT looks at problem behaviors like suicide, self-harm, anger outbursts, overspending, disordered eating, is that it is a solution to a problem. It's a solution. I don't feel good. I feel a lot of shame. I feel embarrassed or whatever. And then I have the thought, I don't want to be here. Or I have a lot of stress. I don't see a way out. I don't want to be here. I'm going to, if I kill myself, that solves the problem. If I cut myself, I feel better and I'm able to go to the social event. You see, so it's a solution to a problem. What is the problem, though? What is the problem? That's what we're trying to figure out. What is the problem? That the blow up is the solution. Well, I feel better, but then I feel like crap afterwards too. I feel a lot of shame afterwards. And then the cycle begins again, because guess what? Shame is also a vulnerability factor. So it just goes round and round again. So we're trying to pinpoint places for intervention that if we could just do something a little different right then, it would turn the tide a bit. When could you call the therapist, for example? You wouldn't want to call the therapist after you did the blow up. You'd want to call the therapist when you start feeling that rise. And I actually had that happen this past weekend. One of my clients had an issue with their significant other and hadn't done anything yet, right? And I was like, how am I going to not blow up on this person from Friday to Monday, because it's Labor Day and we're going on this trip? And so what this client's asking for is, what skills can I use? What skills can I use?